The information shared on Light Body Radio is for educational and informational purposes only. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed healthcare provider, or qualified wellness practitioner with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or health goal. Dr. Lara May, her guests, and affiliates do not claim to cure, prevent, or treat any condition and are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and that any actions you take based on the content are at your own discretion and risk. Thank you for tuning in to Light Body Radio.
Welcome to Light Body Radio, where science meets soul and healing gets multidimensional. I am your host, Dr. Lara May, functional medicine pharmacist, master intuitive Reiki channel, and certified life and health coach. Here we decode root causes, transmute stuck energy, and empower your full spectrum healing journey, body, mind, and light body. This isn't just wellness, it's awakening, grounded in science, guided by spirit, and designed for your evolution. Let's rise and radiate. Welcome to the next level of you. Hello and welcome to Light Body Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we have with us Lara J. She is a teacher, author, and practitioner devoted to helping others reconnect with balance, healing, and the sacred rhythms of life. Although writing a book on creating an oracle deck was never part of her original plan, everything changed when she discovered the profound and illuminating practice of the 13 sacred nights. Deeply transformed by that experience, Lara couldn't help sharing its wisdom with others and now brings this powerful practice to audiences around the world. In addition to her teachings and her work within the sacred nights, Lara is a dedicated Neurogenic Qigong teacher and lifelong movement guide. Her teaching journey began in 1993 in the world of dance before expanding into teaching yoga a decade later. In 2008, she discovered Qigong and a healing art that quickly became the foundation of her personal and professional practice. She has studied extensively with master teachers whose guidance continue to inspire her work. I will let her tell you about those because I do not want to butcher their names. In 2018, she completed a certificate in TRE, or tension and trauma release exercises. She has integrated the TRE with Qigong in a way that supports deep physical, emotional, and energetic restorations. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Lara May. I mean, our first name and our last name kind of rhyme. It's really fun.
Yeah. And when you guys see the title and everything in written form, you'll see why we're laughing, because our first names are actually spelled the same, but we pronounce them differently. So we love that, because I'm sure throughout both of our lives, we've both been challenged with, how do you say your name? And people just also making assumptions and saying it the way they want to.
Right. And sneaking the U in there, even when you spell it for them.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Especially even current day professional practice. Like, you can literally see it. Like, why are you adding a vowel to it? But whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tell us about your beautiful journey and your story. I love to hear how my guests' journey unfolds into like what they're calling and what they're offering to the world.
Yeah. Well, I would say that a big turning point in my story happened 3 months after my daughter was born. And she'll be 18 this year. So that was almost 18 years ago. And I tripped into chronic illness, and, the crawling my way back from that led me to Qigong and my teacher, Damaris Jarbeau, who I understand why you didn't want to try to pronounce her name, seeing it written. But so that was really a big turning point in my journey. And Qigong for me, in all the years of my healing, was really a lifesaver. And then, and then my daughter also, we both contracted Lyme disease when she was 3.5 on the East Coast hiking. And so that was an added layer. And, I will say that there is nothing more motivating than having a sick child, for a mother to just dive deep into all the healing arts. And so, when you're up against a wall, you tend to study things more passionately than you would otherwise. So anyway, fast forward, and, I had learned the practice of the 13 sacred nights, actually, again, also the year she was born. So she brought a lot into my life and my story, as, tends to happen with kids and motherhood. But I had fallen in love with this winter solstice practice as a way of bringing more meaning into our family holiday traditions. And I, over the years, just wanted to tell all my girlfriends about it. You got to do this practice. It's so incredible. It's amazing. It will change your life. And, having studied for all those decades, first yoga and before that, really being already a spiritual seeker and then teaching yoga and then finding Qigong and teaching Qigong and getting into practice, I can honestly say that this magical, sweet, unassuming holiday practice has shifted my way of moving through this human experience more than any other practice. And I've learned so many, and I've read every self-help book on the market and, gone to so many retreats and all the things. And really this practice is so profound, and I can get into why a little bit later. But anyhow, I was, just going along with my life and telling everybody about it. And girlfriends kept asking for more. And then I had my BFF, my childhood BFF, one year said, "Will you make us all a calendar? Because we really want to do this practice for you, but we keep getting it wrong, or we can't quite figure it out." And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I accidentally became an author of an oracle deck, not really being a tarot girly prior to learning this practice. I have oracle decks because of this practice. It wasn't something that I was deep into previously. It just unfolded organically like that. So I do, like to say that I'm an accidental author, but it has been such a trip and such a joy sharing this practice on a bigger level, and really seeing, just really understanding, really reflecting in my own life. Wow, this really did shift the way I moved through my experience. This, I think, more than anything else, really brought me closer to God, source, spirit, whatever you call that mystery. I call it God, which I'll do throughout the rest of this interview. But however you name that something greater, it's really taught me to be in conversation with much more conscious awareness with that greater consciousness than any other practice. And so doing some real deep reflection and then really thinking about, how this practice can help us on a greater, level than just in my own individual life and circle of friends has been just incredible. Yeah. And hearing feedback from people all over the world, whose lives have been changed for the better. So, yeah.
So what is the 13 Sacred Nights?
Yeah.
Work and study, and let's dive into what exactly that looks like.
Yeah. So the 13 Sacred Nights is a winter solstice practice, and it is about aligning with the quiet and the profound stillness and the darkness of the midwinter season, the peak of winter, when in the modern Western world, we tend to be shopping compulsively, overindulging in sugar and alcohol, taxing the body as opposed to conserving energy, jam-packing our calendars. It's the busiest time of year for most folks. We're flooding our lawns with LED light displays. It's just this complete rejection of the true energy of the season, right? Just like a slap in the face to the darkness. Like, we will not dive inward, we're just pulling
kind of a rebellion
out.
If you think about it.
Absolutely. Or a distraction, depending on which way you want to look at it. But so this practice is about getting quiet and introspective and really consciously planting your dream seeds in what I call the womb of winter, right? So all life begins in the darkness, or the fertile soil of the darkness. We're planting our dream seeds so that they'll sprout in the spring, push through the topsoil of the void into the realm of the manifest, bloom into their full expansion. In the summer, we are living the dreams that we planted in the darkness, right? And then in the fall, you're harvesting the fruits of your labor. You're taking a look at what you want to throw on the compost pile, what you want to keep for the coming cycle before diving back in for another cycle. So while this is a winter solstice practice primarily, it really begins to wake us up to and align us with the whole wheel of the year and the rhythm of the seasons. And it helps us lean into nature, begin to pay more attention to her intelligence. And personally, I believe that the more we align with nature, the more we align with our own highest human potential. And the more we reject her, ignore her, turn our back on her rhythms, her intelligence, try to out chemical her, out technology her, I think in the bigger picture, we tend to become sicker, more dysfunctional, more miserable. So yeah.
Well, and because at our core, we are, yes, we're humans, but we're also animals. We're part of the animal kingdom. We are made up of literally all the exact same things that make up Mother Earth. We are one in the same at our chemical core. And so it does make sense that we should move within those same rhythms. We are incarnated on this planet for this lifetime that we chose. And so, I think that's part of the sacred contract of every single human being, is to really align and connect with Mother Earth in some way, shape, or form. And even if you're from a more traditional religious background, that can there's the discussion of, God is found in nature, from that definition of the God.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be yes and
I
was actually going to ask you, is this 13 sacred nights rooted in any specific tradition, or is this something that culminated from you from a variety of traditions?
Yeah. So, I'm glad you asked, and I was about to comment, but yes, it's a non-denominational practice. So, no matter what your belief system is, you can find a way to incorporate this into what you've already got going on. It doesn't have to be, either or, halt all your current holiday traditions or throw the baby out with the bathwater. And let me elaborate a little bit on the structure of the practice.
Sure.
And so that will help make it make sense. It's 13 days long, and each day corresponds to a month in the coming year. And so as you move through these 13 days, which are the, again, peak of winter, the longest, darkest nights of the year, you are doing two things. You're receiving what I call downloads or whisperings of spirit, information, clues, hints, things that are going to make sense as the year unfolds. So you're journaling everything that happens in each 24-hour period, 13 of them. And that's the receive bit. And then you're also drawing oracle cards from the oracle deck. And so you'll have a guide for each month, or really just a theme to help you think about, what's going to show up in your life, maybe shift your perspective. It is often laugh out loud, goosebump inducing how the cards that you draw end up lining up with your life. Mm-hmm. And then the second piece is to give your desires to this riptide of energy that's moving through, that's going to just get swept right into your future. So the things that you're wanting for the coming cycle, you make sure you do those things during the 13 days. So this is where it can be very personalized, because, if you are a more traditional, Christian, for instance, maybe you lean into your prayer practice or your relationship with Jesus during those 13 days. If you have, you're more somebody who meditates from Eastern traditions, then you might make sure that you meditate during those 13 days. If you want to get more fit or exercise or garden or cook or whatever it is, or if you want a certain person in your life, you make sure you reach out to them in some way, shape, or form during those 13 days. So you're really creating this very intentional roadmap for the coming cycle that has a real physical and energetic thrust to it that, again, is really just going to get swept right into your future, as opposed to writing down your New Year's list of resolutions, and then, halfway through January, it's fizzled away. So, so you've got this year-long roadmap. And where did the practice come from? That's a funny question, because I realized I self-published 6 years ago, I think now. And then I was picked up by publishers a year ago, and they asked me where the practice came from. And they suggested that I write a history chapter for the new edition. And so I dove into that topic, and I realized that I had been practicing the 13 sacred nights for 15 years, but I really had no idea where it came from. I just fell in love with the practice and made it my own, and didn't really question where it arrived from. So I dove into the history of the winter solstice. And the truth is that the practice itself does not have like a straight line lineage that's real obvious, as most of our holidays do not, which is another story, because over the last year, I read 32 books on the history of our holidays, and they're all,
oh wow,
yeah, it's a very tangled. Each holiday has its own very unique and entertaining story with all kinds of interesting details. There is a larger pattern. They've all been co-opted numerous times over, intentionally, in order to steal and steer and mold the behavior of the masses. But the winter solstice really, humanity has been celebrating, honoring the winter solstice for as far back as we can peer into human history. And we know this because of ruins like Stonehenge and Newgrange and Chaco Canyon. And they're just endless. Gosek Circle, Nabta Playa. And on every continent, we have examples of sacred sites that were clearly built with care and precision in order to capture the first light of the winter solstice sun, or likewise the summer solstice or the equinoxes. So these cultures, these ancient cultures way back when, were way more aware of and tuned into the rhythm of the seasons, our relationship with the sun and the moon, the stars and the cosmos. They were just living in connection with all of that. And so the winter solstice has always honored themes of the rebirth of the light, the conquering of light over darkness, life over death. And as you mentioned earlier, as above, so below, as without, so within. How do we see these rhythms reflected internally? Not only is the sun returning on the horizon in the winter solstice, we've gone through the darkest point of the year, and then on the winter solstice, or actually it's 3 days after the winter solstice, the sun appears to stand still. That's what solstice actually means. Sun sistere, sol sistere, sun stands still. So after the winter solstice, that longest, darkest night of the year, the sun appears to stand still on the horizon for 3 days. And then on that third day, it begins to incrementally increase the light again and continue its trajectory southward on the horizon. So as that sun begins to reappear on the horizon, so do we have this opportunity to experience the same impulse internally, right? The inspiration, our desires for the coming cycle, our inspiration, our light is being reborn internally for the new cycle. So when we begin to reawaken to or pay attention to what's happening externally in nature, and then noticing how those same impulses are mirrored internally, it's just incredibly empowering, and it will up your entire manifestation game if that's something that you're working on or working with. Recognizing the co-creative nature of human consciousness or thought, and at the very least, helping you tune into and move with this pulse of external, internal rest activity, throughout the entire wheel of the year. Oh, I think you're on mute.
I did mute you. Sorry. Muted
there you go.
Actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, as you and I are sitting here recording this, we are, towards the end of May, and this episode will probably come out to the world sometime, maybe June, maybe early July. I'm not sure, but we'll be in a different part of the year. And then so I think it's important for us to also talk about what do those other parts of the year look like? Like you said, like, so we set these intentions and for us, December. But then how does that unfolding, what does that look like, or that you've seen, whether it's with yourself or with the other people that you've worked with over the years? How does that get incorporated, so to speak, I guess?
Yeah. So again, go back to that metaphor of planting our dream seeds, right? So we're consciously thinking about what we want for the coming cycle. We're planting our intentions, our inspirations, our desires for the coming cycle in that womb of winter, the fertile soil of the darkness. In the spring, our little inspirations are beginning to sprout. We're beginning to sense some movement where maybe we're taking our first steps. We're kind of coming out of hibernation, right? So we're taking those first steps towards bringing those desires and inspirations into our life, but maybe it's happening in just very small initial ways. In the summertime, we're really fully expanded. And even just think about the activities that you're typically doing in the summertime. You're at the pool, you're at the lake, you're at the beach, you're out with friends. It's light until much later. And so your days are much longer. You've got more room for more activities out in the world. We are in bloom. We're fully expanded. And whatever those dream seeds were that we planted, those are probably coming to life in some way, shape, or form, right? And maybe some of them didn't make it. Maybe they didn't sprout, but the ones that did are beginning to catch some momentum now, right? And so we're in this much more active place. Often the summer solstice was often celebrated with big outdoor gatherings and out under the sun and in nature. And, there's so much abundance in our gardens with all the fruit and then, bonfires all night long and dancing and, all this movement and activity and joyfulness. Right. So there's this very external, energy.
Yeah.
And then, most of us have felt that sort of call to slow down and to get a little bit more inward as we notice the seasons change and the air takes on a little crisp coolness in the fall. We get a little bit more reflective, a little bit more internal, getting ready to really hunker down again into the darkness, into the sacred nights of winter. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. And I'm curious too, like, does this practice sort of also by nature call us into more of those observances throughout the rest of the year? Like we've obviously talked about, the summer equinox. But then again, like whether it is, then the solstices. And so maybe just like bringing further attention back to these, maybe not as big of intention setting spaces, but yes, or like maybe even like coming back towards center of like reflection of, okay, these were my big intentions that I set during these 13 days, but okay, now I'm in July or now I'm in September. Where am I? Have I come?
Yeah.
What's worked out? What hasn't? Like, do I need to reassess?
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about the 13 Sacred Nights practice, and I talked about how much it changed my personal life and walk and way of being, is that you create this journal during those 13 nights, hand in hand with, again, however you name that, something greater. But it's this very magical, beautiful experience. And just those 13 days, just if that was just the practice, just that would be worth it. Because again, it's a 13-day practice in being present. You have this extra motivation to be super conscious of your internal and your external world and the way those two are dancing with each other, because you're aware that you're laying down the blueprint for your entire cycle. So there is this extra motivation to be really ultra present. And I like to say it's like a 13-day boot camp in mindfulness. And it's not just your 20-minute practice in the morning or even your 2-hour meditation if you're, a really seasoned, practitioner. It's 13 days. So you have to learn to walk through your life more present, 24 hours, for 13 days. It's not just on the mat. This is really learning to take your practice off the mat and into your day-to-day life. And so for me, it really over the years strengthened that muscle in me. And, you know, I will be the first to admit that the first handful of years that I did this practice, I would get 3/4 of the way through and be like, wow, this is a really long time to pay attention. Like I was kind of ready to check out, you know, like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is exhausting, you know, and it was, you know, it's strengthening a muscle. And now it's much more just the way that I move through my life in general. And it's no longer tiring. It's just a state of being. But it was a boot camp of sorts. So,
Yeah.
but the beautiful thing again is that you have this incredibly magical, mystical time during the 13 nights themselves. And then you have this journal that you carry with you throughout the rest of the year. And it really carries the thread of the sacred through your entire year, because month after month, you're checking in with your journal. You're noticing how the random bits of information or the cards that you drew during that magical time are actually correlating to real-time events in your life as they unfold. It's blowing your mind. It's making you laugh out loud and look up at the sky and go, are you kidding me? You know, because the synchronicities are just it's so in your face sometimes. And so it's this constant reminder that there is more going on that meets the eye, that we are you know, guided on this journey, that there is some kind of order and meaning unfolding that is beyond what our personal minds are aware of. And so it is a practice that, although you sort of, quote, do the practice primarily in those 13 days, it's really a year-long practice, because you're checking back in with your journal, and you do begin to just to witness again with just more awareness the time passing, the cycles, the way that it's all unfolding in this cyclical fashion, because you're noticing, oh wow, I just went through a whole nother cycle and here we go again, you know. And so
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. I can see how I mean, I think the other thing too is the way at least Western culture works is so much outward focus in terms of, even if you want to use the word manifesting, usually that's an outside of ourselves thing. Like, what do I want to bring into my life? Is something physical, most likely for most people. But
Right.
I think once we get beyond that and we start asking ourselves, how do I want to be in the world? How am I showing up? Maybe there's a theme that we don't like that's happened over and over, and we want to shift. We realize my internal condition is creating my external reality. And so then that begs the question, what do I need to shift about myself to not only this cycle, but then bring in this new thing? And then how powerful is that you get to spend maybe 13 days thinking about that internalness of yourself instead of whatever the external thing is. And there's nothing wrong with the external things. I mean, again, that's part of our reality. But when we realize that the external is a reflection of the internal, then that's like the really deep and big work.
Right. And I think
and then carry on through a whole year. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I think for most of us, what we're really chasing when, you know, and for most people, I think, yes, it's fine. We start with this kind of external manifestation practice or idea of, you know, I want this thing or this idea in my life. But it's really the feeling underneath it that we're chasing, right? The feeling of security, the feeling of being loved, the feeling of more joy, of more peace, of more rest, whatever it is. So yeah, learning to embody those things, right? As you begin to witness how, the internal is, holy smokes, being reflected to me back out here in the external. And I'll say too, I offer seasonal courses that are they're mostly Qigong courses, but we also I work with the 5 elements and the seasonal wheel, and I do teach a manifestation course that's the summer solstice course, and the thing that I bring up in that course that I think most often gets missed in the realm, in the world of manifestation, is this piece of manifesting in service to, as opposed to just these very egoic, I want a bigger house or a nicer car or a shiny bicycle, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Or even a boyfriend, or, whatever people are, a love in my life, whatever people are working on. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we can shift it just slightly so that it's not just a purely self-serving thing that we're after, but if we're also considering how this thing that we want to manifest is going to serve some other person, or even the planet, or, the earth, or other, how is this going to be in service to other? I think that's a really important piece that can kind of begin to shift the conversation internally. And I think also when we are manifesting in service of or in service to, honestly, we get better results.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, yeah. And just even that concept of like giving and receiving, in order for us to receive the thing or the mood or the love or the energy that we're looking for, there has to be something given back. Like, and a lot of times we, again, Western world, like we are very, I think of it as like it's happening at the world, but is it actually intentionally giving, and is it giving of altruism versus like we're just like unconsciously putting things out there and then we're expecting to get back the things we receive, but like there's this lack of connection.
Yeah.
Sorry, that
You're
wasn't really a question.
That's okay. You're cutting out a little bit, so I was trying to listen in between the frozen bits.
Oh, okay. It'll all be linked together in the end. But anyway, I was just saying like the connection between giving and the receiving, and then either the conscious intention with it and or the lack thereof. And I like that you bring that intention out.
Yeah. And I think, like the way that you can still be working towards that thing that that you're just purely desiring. But think about the example that I use is, okay, let's say somebody wants like a nice new car, right? And that's what they're working on manifesting. Well, maybe you think about, okay, well, if I want this car because I want a fancy new car, but this car is going to allow me to have adventures and experiences, and maybe it will allow me to transport my family in a nice, safe vehicle and serve my family in that way. Or, just think about how this thing that you're wanting is going to positively impact others in your world.
Yes, beautiful. So you mentioned that you do offer a summer class. So let's talk more about your offerings and where people can find you. If there's anything specific you want to send people to.
Yeah. So I do offer 5 seasonal courses, and they're all on my website. Really easy to find me, just larajday.com, LARA. Don't sneak the U in there. J, my middle initial, and then day, DAY. So larajday.com. And they are Qigong courses. They're also seasonal courses. So I talk about, in Qigong, we have wood, fire, earth, metal, water. We have the 5 elements, and each element corresponds to a season. It corresponds to organs in the body. It corresponds to symptoms. It corresponds to emotional states of being. It corresponds to thought processes. It can correspond to events in the world, right? So the idea is that these 5 elements really, in some combination of each other, make up our entire experience here. And so through the perspective of the 5 elements, I work with the seasonal energies. We've got wood, fire, earth, metal, water. That's the five seasons. So there's wood is spring, fire is summer. So that's that fire manifestation course that I talked about. Earth has its own special seasons. That's harvest time or late summer. And then metal would be fall. And then winter is the 13 Sacred Nights course, which is a guided experience of the 13 Sacred Nights practice. And then we also meet once a month throughout the remainder of the year. The winter course, the 13 Sacred Nights course, is the only course that has a live aspect or element to it, and the others are all pre-recorded. And again, with that 13 Sacred Nights guided experience, we meet once a month throughout the entire year. We practice Qigong. We talk about our cards. We talk about the synchronicities that have unfolded for us. And in a group setting, there's always there's always just this exponential magic that unfolds. So those are my course offerings. I also do private sessions, neurogenic Qigong sessions, which is my own unique combination of traditional Chinese energy medicine or medical Qigong or Qigong healing, and the tension and trauma releasing work that you mentioned in the introduction. So it's my own unique mashup of those two modalities. It's quite powerful. It really tends to move the needle for folks. And those I typically do private. I'll every once in a while do a workshop. So if there's anyone out there that, would like to have a workshop or have me in their space, I'm always open to that. But usually it's a private, either Zoom or in-person experience, one-on-one. So, and then there's the Oracle, of course, which is available in all the places: Barnes and Noble, Simon and Schuster, Amazon, through my publishers, beyondword.com. So that's all over the place. Yeah.
And the socials.
And the socials, Instagram is really where you can primarily find me. My Instagram posts go to Facebook, but I'm not really on there much. And I did open a TikTok because everybody's got to go on TikTok, but I'm never on there. So Instagram is really the place to find me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lara. I really appreciate your time and your energy and all the work you're putting out into the world. And so everyone, definitely, if you're interested in this ritual practice throughout the year and then starting out, I think this is a good time too, because we'll sort of plant the seeds now for this, and then people will be like, oh yeah, remember that thing I listened to? And maybe, it'll encourage them to sort of like think about it, percolate, and then come back to it, or maybe take one of your seasonal courses before we get to the 13 Sacred Nights. So
yes. Yeah.
So again, thank you so much. Any last words before we finish up this time?
I don't think so. I think, for me, I think that the thing that I'm really trying to put out in the world is for us, again, to just kind of consciously think about how we want to mark these turning points in the year, lean into nature a little bit more intentionally, and, in that way, kind of rebrand from the bottom up our hyper commercialized holidays, bring the soul back to the solstice, the holy back to our holidays, just some deeper meaning and awareness around our celebrations and sacred moments.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And we will catch you on the next episode, everybody. Thank you for joining me on Light Body Radio, where functional medicine meets intuitive healing and transformation happens on every level. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and if you're ready to go deeper, visit drlaramay.com to book a functional medicine consultation or an intuitive healing session. Whether you need to rebalance your body, clear your energetic blocks, or reconnect with your soul's purpose, I've got you. You can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Dr. Lara May for daily inspiration, energy updates, and healing tools. Remember, your healing is multidimensional, and so are you. Until next time, honor your body, trust your intuition, and activate your light.